bank holiday weekend, so we decided to ride our bikes from Portchester to Margate, hugging the south coast of England.
We're in Worthing!
Is it worth it? Okay, let's keep going. Tidy building. Whoa! We're in Worthing!
We loaded our bikes up with a tent,
Colourful houses,
sleeping bags and a few other bits of kit, and headed off. Without much of a plan and no accommodation booked, we'd have to camp wherever we found a suitable spot, and eat wherever we found a good place along the road. Following the seafront, the route for day one of our trip was mostly flat, which was pretty easy, until we got to the other side of Brighton, and then the cliffs began as we headed up through my favouritely named town, Rottingdean, and onto Peacehaven, where we eventually set camp for the night. Second day began in glorious sunshine atop the cliffs overlooking the English Channel.
This is the road forward. Video, balance my bike and step over a cattle grid. One of the three things isn't going to happen. Not your mic? Look at that, the sea view. Up a massive hill. The view.
We fueled up for the day with a big fry up at the Hot Spot Cafe in Newhaven. Heading through Seaford, we began to hit the hills again as the South Downs meet the sea, and we took in the sights of Burling Gap and Beachy Head before heading over to Eastbourne.
Living steep hill, climbing up to Beachy Head. Woo!
Few more easier, flatter miles through Bexhill and we were on towards Hastings, where we met some friendly fellow cyclists who gave us some good pointers about where to eat that night.
Woof woof woof, as he encounters the dog.
Well, it's rude not to say hello to the dogs. This is a pretty cool town. It's all cliffs and hedges and shingle and Nikita.
Hello.
Hello.
Although I don't belong here.
You do not, but you are here at this very moment.
After a delicious 3-course meal at a Moroccan restaurant, we had to ride the last few miles to the campsite and pitch the tent in the dark. After a morning discovering what our campsite looked like in daylight and working out the intricacies of a composting toilet, we packed up, got back on the saddle and headed to the town of Rye, one of our key landmarks that we wanted to see along the way.
The one we've just come from?
Yes.
Any thoughts?
It's very clever.
Are you playing dumb? Well, that's enough of that.
There's Noops. Oh yes.
Only cycled about 200 miles to get here.
Yeah.
So, hot chocolate that you've cycled 200 miles to Rye for.
It is very worth
Is it to Rye for?
it. Yes.
Worth every mile.
Fueled up on that hot chocolate and a big breakfast, we set off past Camber Sands and out to the peculiar landscape of Dungeness. It was a bit of a detour to head out onto the big flat peninsula, but the curiosity of the power station and lighthouse kept us going to make sure we checked it out. The view at the top of the lighthouse was well worth the effort though, the extra miles and the hike up all those steps of course. Back on the road, we had a lot of miles to cover to get back towards Hyde and back on track.
Hello.
You managed to
You
get
lovely,
hold of
big
Dana.
softy you are. It's really rather windy. We've been riding all the way from Dungeness Lighthouse and this wind has been against us the whole way. Soon we will change directions and start heading east again. Hopefully be a bit less windy.
It stayed quite windy, but at least it was flat. Folkestone was a big surprise. All I knew of Folkestone from before was the Eurostar, so I don't think I'd actually been to the town, but the zigzagging undercliff paths were pretty cool. Burgers for dinner in a really cool American bar, and then off to find a campsite in the dark again. day 4 began with a real treat. The view from the cliffs on Little Switzerland campsite were incredible.
Good morning! Someone's not as awake.
Sunday and we were up at 6.
What a silly thing to do. We are now on our way to Dover.
But we slept one side White Cliff and the other side the sea.
And we could see France in the distance, twinkling in a way that only the French can twinkle.
Short distance into our ride and we came across the Battle of Britain monument.
Have made it to Dover.
For breakfast.
So now what? Where are we going to go for breakfast?
Anywhere.
We were pretty starving, so a quick look around the town and we picked a cafe, sat down for a full English. How was that?
Hello! Oh, I'm tired.
Dover Castle. We can go off and see the castle.
The local landmark being the White Cliffs of Dover meant one thing, however. We had some big hills ahead of us.
We got to Deal, and there's a castle. And there's loads of cyclists, loads of pedestrians. Let's stop and have a look around.
Another famously named town, Sandwich, where we stopped, of course, for an ice cream. And a bit of live rock and roll. We were really close to the end of our trip now. We arrived in Ramsgate. Tired on our 4th day on the road, we decided to stop a bit earlier today.
So, just sat here with a delicious pint, looking out at Ramsgate Beach on the most enormous Wetherspoon. Apparently it's the largest Wetherspoons in the country. Hello. You look so civilised for someone who's cycled 200 miles.
I'm still drinking leftover pitcher.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So we are leaving on our last day to do the last few miles to Margate. And it is raining. So we've only got, how many miles?
10.
10. Where are you? You keep disappearing behind me.
10 miles to go.
10 miles to go along the coast to Margate, and then we can collapse in a heap and eat too much food again.
We could never get away with it for a whole trip, so it was wet and dreary and windy on a bank holiday Monday. We took a leisurely pace and headed to Broadstairs for another classic fry-up.
This is pretty grim, isn't it? It's an absolutely beauteous squeak.
We slowly worked our way towards Margate. Soon we could see it in the distance.
Margate!
So, we have now just turned around, we followed the coast, and for the first time this whole trip, other than getting lost, we are heading west. So we've gone east as far as we can go east, and now we turn west, back along the coast, back to Margate, to the point that we stuck in the map and decided we would head to. How do you feel?
That we are so close to it. Yet so far.
It's not that far, it's like literally see it. Is it too early for a pint? We have arrived. It's a little bit depressed here on the way in. Sort of very deserted and run down and lots of closed shops. But it's a bit more lively here, so let's see what it's like. As is traditional for the British seaside, it is raining on a bank holiday. So, good job we're finishing here.
Finally arrived at our destination in Margate, but the trip was really about the journey. We had discovered so much along the way, visited towns and cities for the first time, taken in spectacular cliff-top views, and had the sea by our side all the way. Not bad going for a long weekend.
We got to Margate!
We did it!